In this short video tutorial, we will discuss about the do-while loop in the C programming language. In the previous couple of videos, we have discussed about the for loop, which is a counting loop, and we have discussed about the while loop, which is a conditional loop. So when we write the for loop, we actually start with some initial value and we have to reach up till the end value, for which we either increment or decrement the value of the variable which we use in the for loop. Whereas when we write the while loop, we only evaluate the condition, and till that condition is true, the while loop will keep executing. Now in this tutorial, we are talking about the do while loop. Now, the do while loop is actually exactly similar to the while loop. The only difference is that when we write the do while loop, we first execute the code inside the body of the do while loop and then we check the condition. So, if I write that for the while loop, we first check the condition and then run the code. But when we are using the do while loop, we first run the code and then we check the condition. So this is the only difference between while and do while loop. Both while and do while loops are conditional loop. They are not counting loops like the for loop. The only difference is that in the while loop, first we check the condition, and only if the condition is true, we will run the code inside the while loop. Whereas the do while loop, we first run the code inside the body of the do while loop and we then check the condition. So with this, you might understand one thing, that the do while loop will run at least one time, always. So it runs at least one time because we first run the code and then we check the condition. Suppose the condition that we have in the do while loop is false, still the code will run at least once, and if the condition will be false, this loop will stop running. Whereas the while loop, because it checks the condition first, so if that condition is false, the code inside the body of the while loop will never run. So when you are using the do while loop, please keep in mind that the do while loop executes at least one time and then it checks the condition. So it might not execute the second time, but every do while loop that you write will execute at least one time before it can check the condition. So with this understanding, let's start writing our C program to see how we can write the do while loop in the C program. So I've included the header file and I've created the main function. Inside the main function, I have declared a variable a of the type int and I've given it a value 0. Now I'm writing the do while loop which will print the value of a on the screen, and it will print the value till the value of a is less than 10. Now after we print the value, we will increment the value of a by 1. So now let's understand this code that we have written. In this code, we have created the do while loop, and starting with this bracket till this bracket is the body of the do while loop. Now, inside the body of the do while loop, we have written a print statement and we have incremented the value of a by 1. Now notice that after the ending curly bracket, we have written the while condition, and the while condition says that while the value of a is less than 10, this loop should run. Also please notice that after we have written the while condition, we have added a semicolon here. So if you do not add the semicolon here, you will get a compiler error and your program will not run. Now notice that the do while loop, it first executes this code and then it checks this value. So as I mentioned earlier also, the do while loop will run at least one time, because it will first run the code and then it will check the condition. So let's execute our program and see what output we get. So when we run a program, we get the same output. It prints from 0 till 9, and after that the value of a becomes 10, and this condition becomes false. So the do while loop will stop the execution. So I hope that with this you have understood the do while loop and how it is different from the while loop and from the for loop. So with this, we will end our short tutorial here. To access our complete C programming course, please visit openeschool.com/learnc. Also, please subscribe to our channel to get regular updates on the new videos that we post.